Hello and welcome back to San Juan County Council's Tuesday, September 15, 2020 meeting. We're back for a few minutes late from an hour lunch break. We are now going to run into our seventh discussion item, which is remaining 2020 work plan. So Council, how would you like to do this? I was sort of thinking we'd work with Mike and just walk through each of the items and make sure those are still interested in doing, or make a decision if we're not interested in moving forward with that. And at the end, bring forward if there's anything new or different that's on this list that we would like to consider. Is that acceptable?
Cool.
Jamie, all right?
Someone's got their live stream on.
Hold on, let me check.
I don't hear it.
Oh, maybe it's me.
But did you hear anything of what I said, Jamie? Jamie.
We're going to go through stuff. You get that lag thing. But I don't think it's me.
I only see. I don't know. Well, let me start again. So, in the agenda packet under 7 is the Friday, January 31st, 2020 special council meeting retreat document. And I thought it would make sense for us to start and go through each of the items and see, kind of where we're at, and if it's something we still want to focus on. And then at the end, if there's any new items that council's interested in working on, that we bring them up at that point. I just want to make sure that was an okay plan for both of you.
It's fine with me.
Let's do it.
All right. And Mike, you're on the line, correct?
I'm here for you.
Thank you. All right, so the first item is the major workload items for 2020 and beyond. Comprehensive plan, we were briefed on that today, so I assume we want to continue moving forward with staff on that, correct?
Yep.
Right.
And the elements, we're getting them brought to us over time. For example, the transportation element just came, I think it was 2 weeks ago. I think we've decided that after the finishing of the marijuana moratorium, which would be number 2, the next item is allocation of long-range planning staff. I would assume the intent for us is to just focus on the long-range plan, unless we deem something else at the end. Is that correct?
I don't know what you said there.
I don't think we have anything else currently queued up in DCD other than the fees.
Correct. So basically, I'm sorry, Jamie, long-range planning department, we would only focus on comprehensive plan and the fee adjustment.
Oh, okay.
In regards to other elements, I don't think that's pertinent at this point.
Well, what about, and I don't know if this is part of the comprehensive plan that she went over, but what about the vacation? We had talked about also doing something with the vacation rentals, either the fees for that also, and or doing some sort of cap or whatever. I mean, some of the things that Erica covered this morning.
Right.
Sorry, there's vacation rentals, sorry. But
I took her vacation rental stuff as part of the work on the comprehensive plan. Mike, is that incorrect?
Vacation rentals is different than the comp plan stuff, but it's all on Erica's plate, so to speak. So I guess just focusing on the comp plan, I think we have good direction from council and from Erica on the elements that she's working on, and basically what she presented this morning. So it's full speed ahead on that. And then the vacation rentals is like a separate discussion, but and Erica also brought up ADUs, but vacation rentals is pertinent because we've been talking about that for some time, and the fee associated with that has been part of our budget discussion. So possible action on that this year would be probably good.
And Mike,
Third item on the list, so we hadn't gotten to that yet.
Right. Oh yeah, that's right.
Bill.
Okay. So yep. So the first bullet on the old retreat list is all around the comp plan, and that's yep. We want to proceed with that comp plan update.
The next item is the marijuana moratorium, which we finished, so that's
Done.
great. Check that off the list. So the next one is the vacation rental stuff, and I understand. I agree with you, Mr. Stevens, and that this is an item that we should work on, or at least I support that. I'm not sure if I'm agreeing with you, but I agree that we should, or I think we should work on this.
Yeah, and Mike, when do the actual annual certification reminders go out?
I do not know, Bill.
So my proposal to council is that we need to resolve the vacation rental items. I'm sorry, the fee question before the postcards go out, if possible, so that we can give them a year's notice that next year they're going to have a fee.
Correct.
That's a good idea.
All right. So assuming we can do that, right? So I would suggest, that might, if possible, would be the parameter around which we deal with the fee discussion, and then, other updates to the regs, whether there's a limit or something else, that could occur at any time. But, I think we at least owe them notice of any new fee that we impose.
No, good point, Bill. But I'm assuming that we're planning for the permits that come in as of January 1st, 2021, assuming we pass a fee ordinance, would be applicable at that point. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but it wouldn't be due until the certification fee wouldn't be due until the end of the year.
It's not the actual application fee; it's the annual cert fee.
Right.
So I believe Erica has it. Well, Bill's point is spot on, and I don't think that with notice that we were planning on being able to collect that fee till the end of next year.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. Thank you for bringing that up.
Okay.
So there's a few topics here on this sheet regarding vacation rentals, but I think Erica has reached out to everyone, and there's the Planning Commission doc, which focuses on the areas that at least there's interest in hearing the Planning Commission discuss. Is that acceptable to both of you?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thanks. On the new facilities, Mike, if you could touch here, I assume we're moving forward with both the Guard Street shop sale and getting to 100% and beginning construction after acquiring permits for Beaverton Valley, correct?
That is correct. Yeah, so we're at 100% design, in permitting, signed a purchase and sale agreement for Guard Street shop with the town, and then financing, looking at some different financing options for that facility. So that's well on its way.
Okay. Any questions regarding Beaverton Valley from Jamie or Bill?
Nope.
Nope.
So, Mike, if you could just give us, I think this dovetails into potentially some new concepts for how we do business, which we talked about a little bit about in our some of our budget discussions. But could you give us sort of where we're at with the civic campus plan and how the work that we've already done might be rolled into budget planning and or facility allocations in the future?
Yeah, so with respect to the civic campus plan, we reached the end of the 30% design process. Obviously, a new building is a substantial amount of money. So what we've decided to do, or what we've been talking about, is saying, okay, if we can't build a new building, then what elements from that design process can we apply to our existing buildings? And so you'll see in the capital budget this year a couple of concepts. So one of the concepts that was integrated into the new building that we think we can integrate into the courthouse is a common, what we call a common service counter. So that counter, someone could come to and transact really any business with the county, whether it was planning, public works, auditor, assessor, treasurer. So it gets to that one stop shop location. So we think with some physical changes to the courthouse main floor that we could accommodate that counter idea. So that'll be one capital budget idea. And then we're going to take a look at some reuse elements in the admin building. Obviously, we have put off some fairly major improvements to this building. Siding's obvious; it has window issues and the like. So we're looking at some reuse possibilities in this building. The goal is same as, so one of the goals that we've been talking about and continue to talk about is, can we consolidate buildings? Can we get rid of one or two, possibly three buildings and consolidate people into the remaining buildings? And so those conversations are predicated on some redesign of certain buildings. It's also predicated on a conversation about what does our future workforce look like with respect to what positions need periodic touchdown spaces, which positions can be a true work at home position. So those conversations are ongoing, but the goal is the same as the civic campus plan, is to reduce the number of buildings that we have. And if we can do that, that's a really key budget move, because it costs us a lot of money to have the number of buildings that we have. So we're basically trying to pivot off of not being able to do a new building, but take the design elements and the service concepts and apply them to our existing buildings. So we're continuing to work with Miller Hull at this point with kind of a revised scope to figure out some of these elements. So that's where we're at today. Again, you'll see probably two budget requests via the capital budget for some capital dollars to make some changes to our campus. So that's where we're at with that.
Mike, how do we get to that step of deciding facility, shrinking facility? How do we get to that point? What's the process that we go through?
So that's one of the I'll call it department head meeting discussions. We're going to start talking about that tomorrow with the department heads. We've talked about the concept, and now we need to run it to ground. So that's just ongoing work. I mean, the building, this admin building that I'm in, it has quite a bit of space. It's not very useful space at the moment, so we could accommodate a lot more folks. We have the Windermere building that really has one tenant. They might be able to be consolidated into an existing building and get rid of that building. So it's really following up on the same exercise that we did as part of the civic campus single building concept.
And what role do you see council playing in that process, or how can we help, I guess is a better way?
Well, I think at this point, it's staff needs to, like I said, run the concept to ground, and then we can daylight some concepts with council, which will be important because we'll be asking you for capital dollars to affect some of these changes.
And Mike, I think we need to develop a formal work at home program or policy statement, right?
Yeah.
So update the PPM and whatever other appropriate documents so that supervisors, managers have a framework within which they can manage their local work at home staff decisions.
Yeah, so I think we're like a lot of employers. We've taken this kind of immediate hybrid step of depopulating our buildings. So the question is, what does that look like from a permanent standpoint?
Exactly.
And what makes sense and what's possible. So yeah, that's part of the building discussion.
Great.
And Jamie, are you okay with this direction and at least the discussion item?
Yeah.
All right, great. Any other thoughts regarding new facilities? Okay. Next subject would be the biennial budgeting. Obviously, we've, I think, been able to establish a balance for 2020. Looking, we're going to begin the process on Mondays, I think, coming forward on how to secure and guarantee that we've got a balanced budget for 2021 with hope for balances in the future. Is there anything else in the budgeting process that either one of you can see that need to be considered as additional priorities?
Nope, I think just 2021 update.
Okay.
I guess my question would be to Mike, if we're going to start doing all these Mondays, I guess I'm just trying to figure out how the scope of things, because part of going to a 2-year budget was so we wouldn't have to stop the county for 6 months to do a budget.
Right.
And I know we've had COVID to really throw the wrench in the works, but.
Yeah, it's been COVID budget. That's pretty much the work program. So Jamie, to your point, what's left to do on the 21 budget is to figure out, now that we've passed the second budget amendment, is to figure out where we are in 21, and then we have the other attendant budget. We have the levies. You looked at the tip. We have staffing plan. We have what else I'm spacing on as far as just the requisite stuff that we have to do to pass the budget.
Well, and the department heads were going to sit there and discuss potential service cuts.
Yeah. So at our staff meeting tomorrow, we're going to talk about a number of things, but clearly some additional reductions need to be made, probably to balance the 21 budget. So how do we approach doing that? Is the discussion. So we've been through a number of exercises just to balance the 20 budget, but I think there's some stuff that we can do for 21, and so we need to start talking about that, which we'll start doing tomorrow.
Right. Well, and set ourselves up for 22, right? I mean.
Yeah, I mean, council knows there's also a number of conversations that are hanging out there,
right.
That we're not sure how they're going to ultimately land. So I think reserving space on the calendar is maybe cautionary, but maybe needed depending on how things unfold here in the next month.
And council, by the next meeting, I'll work with Mike to try to have a budget calendar which lines out, on what day we'll be doing what. And at that point, we should be able to line in our 3 touches on some of the ordinances that we have to pass. And then we can, if there's dates we don't need, then we'll just mark them off. Mike had asked us to set it aside to work on it. And now we need to figure out what we need to actually work on. And then I'll get that back to you guys for approval.
So we're just approaching this as the first amendment to the 2021 budget, right?
Correct.
Okay.
I'm only looking at, and Bill, to further that, it's really just, are we short any money and what do we need to do? I don't see it as anything. We've already passed that budget, so it's not really adding to it. It's, can we fund what we have? Do we have accurate ideas on what our revenue sources are? To your point, what services may we need to cut in order to make sure that we balance the 21 budget?
Well, and we've sort of we've updated 2020's budget, so we should have a new forecast for where we think we are at the beginning of 2021, and so we ought to amend the 2021 budget to reflect what we know as of today-ish, right?
Correct.
So that's why I'm saying, from a process perspective, I would just call it, we're working on the first amendment for the 2021 budget.
Fair enough. Is that all right, Mr. Stevens?
Yeah.
The other attendant piece on the budget is the sales tax analysis that I'm starting to work on. Not totally sure when that'll be done, but hopefully that'll help inform the 21 decisions.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. The next item on the agenda was 2020 ballot measures. I think the only thing that we would have left to work on that would be just wrapping up the decision on putting on the ballot the fire district request that fire district vote that we just spoke of earlier. Is there anything else? I can't think of anything else.
Well, we might need to do some citizen education around the Charter Review Commission election, reminding people what this is for, right?
Well, we should be doing that right now.
Well, exactly. So, I mean,
Well, is that something you can work on since you were on the Charter Review Commission in the past? Would you have time or be willing to help support that?
I can, yep.
Is that all right, Jamie?
Sounds good.
All right.
Okay, so the next thing, thank you, Bill, for offering on that. So, Jamie, the next thing is the tourism master plan. It seems to me like we may not have time to work on that, but I don't want to, it's up. It's kind of what are your thoughts on it?
It won't get done. What I'm trying to do is get with, from our last meeting, I need to get with Faith Band to put in, redo our RFP and then take it to the lodging tax group.
Okay, so at some point when you're able to pull that off, maybe in mid-October, just give us an update on what what you think the calendar is or schedule, or
Right.
or is that all right, or just put it on hold until you change us? Or
Like I said, it won't be done this year, but we'll make progress.
Right.
thank you for that. So everything else is really talking about things that we're planned on at that point in time. So I guess at this point I would ask, is there any other projects that we haven't outlined? It seems like we have a pretty full agenda for staff, but is there anything else that I may have missed that either one of you thinks we should work on?
No, I'd like to try to keep it simple right now for everybody.
Mr. Watson? Outside
Yeah.
of code simplification?
Well, I listed a few things from the whole discussion around inclusive community resolution items, right? And from updating our employee education to include a couple of appropriate topics, initiating a conversation with the sheriff about the use of force review committee, and whether we want to change, how that is, the membership of that, reviewing our employee personnel policy manual, make sure that, all the appropriate topics are covered in that. So those were the main things off of that I walked away with from discussing the resolution.
Well, I agree on that. It should be on the next agenda. I just didn't feel like we could get through it today.
No, I meant but as far as, working on these things between now and the end of the year might make sense because most of them should be relatively easy, or if we don't get it done by the end of the year, it can roll into next year, but at least we'll be making some progress on some of the aspects of the inclusive community resolution items.
Great. Mr. Stevens?
Yeah, when Bill sent out to us the suggestions for kind of changing the way the resolution was between the resolution and the action items, I thought those were good thoughts.
Okay.
All right, so is it all right in our next meeting if I bring those thoughts forward and we'll start the discussion on where we want to go with it?
Sure.
Yep.
Okay.
And then the only other thing, and I know you're both probably going to cringe at this, we really haven't come to any conclusions about the Parks Fair budget. And, all of us have been befuddled about how to do anything with it. So
Well, Bill, you can continue to be befuddled by it because I am befuddled by it. But I will, honestly, there's a lot of conversations around the parks budget. Obviously, it's a horrible revenue year, and I'm glad that we can do camping at 100%. It may be too little too late for this year, but I think the exercise that I've been engaged in with staff is, how can we reduce costs, and what is the right staffing model? And so those conversations are ongoing, but that would be part of part of the budgeting discussion is bringing that parks budget in front of council, early October.
So you want to roll that into sort of the 2021 discussion?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just on my list going, and again, I don't have any proposed solution, right? It's just, in my mind, it's one of these good things we've been trying to discuss and resolve, and we're in limbo because no one's come up with any great creative ideas. Okay.
Well, yeah, and I will say there's been quite a bit of staff discussion, and some of the staff discussion on staffing bleeds into other staffing discussions. But
right.
I mean, it's really clear that even before COVID and a horrible camping year, is that the goal with the parks budget is to it ends in the black every year,
right?
Instead of having the awkward conversation about, hey,
we need more money.
I just need another $10,000, and then I'll be at zero.
Right.
And
again, Mike, I'm not blaming anybody here, right? Because we council haven't come up with any revolutionary ideas either. So,
well, we're working.
In my mind, yep, exactly. So in my mind, that's still a big open question, and so it would be nice if we roll that into the 21 budget discussion, and maybe staff will be able to generate some insightful kind of creative ideas that we haven't been able to come up with.
Exactly.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's I guess my remark would be assume that's included in the 21 budget discussion.
Right. Okay. Good. So those are the only things that were on my independent list.
All right. So we will be sending out kind of a reminder, assuming council's okay. Department heads, is there anything else that they're going to want time outside of what we just signed from council? And I'll bring that information forward if we get returned. The document's been sent out once, and we haven't gotten the completion of that request, and so we're going to resend that today. So if there's anything else that's new above and beyond, it should give us an idea of what the work plan should look like for the next couple months of this year. Is that all right?
Yep.
All right, Mike, anything else? Does this give enough direction to you from where council's
the
year?
I would say yes. And on behalf of all staff, thank you for not adding anything.
Oh, we haven't got to the ads yet, Mike.
You're welcome, Mike.
You guys are okay.
All right, anything else on work schedule or work plan? All right. Our next discussion, and Rhonda, are you on the phone?
Yep.
Yes, I'm here.
Great. The next discussion action is the rehire of vacant financial clerk 2 position with Rhonda Peterson, treasurer.
Thank you, Rick and council. This is Rhonda, San Juan County treasurer. So this vacant position is the foreclosure deputy position. It is a position that has already been approved before. It is paid 75% out of current expense and 25% out of the treasurer's O&M fund. This position does many other tasks just besides the foreclosure process. And I think I sent you guys a list of some of the duties that this position does on Friday. I don't know if you received that.
Yep, we got it.
Okay. Okay. Jamie, did you get it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. So this position that is vacant was paid at a step 7. So the rehire would be at, either step 1 through 3. And I had Michelle run figures on that for the remainder of 2020 and for the 2021 budget year. And the savings for 2021 is not as much as it is for 2020, and that's because when she calculates the figures, it's based on family medical, and the previous person did not have family medical, so that's why there's the huge difference there.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you guys have any questions for me?
So you can't live without this person, right?
I cannot. We are currently, of course, I have, my new chief deputy that is old new. I mean, he used to work here before, but he has, obviously new duties that he's doing, and he's now him and I are both taking on the vacant position duties at this point. So we're running very thin at this point, and of course there's some things that are, getting either pushed out, extra week, or there's things that aren't happening at this point because we don't have the staff to do it.
No further questions.
Okay.
I don't have any questions.
I don't either.
So I guess, Mr. Chair, I move we approve the rehire of the vacant financial clerk 2 position as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to rehire the vacant financial clerk 2 position as presented. Any questions? All right, Rhonda, thank you very much for bringing this forward and for your patience. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Thank you very much, Rhonda.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rhonda.
All right, has council had an opportunity to look at the packets for the Public Facility Assistance Fund or .09 fund application?
We've not received them.
Yeah.
I've not distributed the packets to council, only to the review committee.
Okay.
And as you are a member of the
That's
review
right.
committee, you have them.
So we are looking at them, I think it's this Friday, correct?
That's correct.
All right, so we have a packet. Today we will just set a public hearing, if that's all right.
Mr. Chair, I move we set a public hearing to review the 2020 Public Facility Finance Assistance Program Review Committee recommendations for October 13th at 9:15 a.m.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to set a public hearing to review the 2020 Public Facility Finance Assistance Program Review Committee recommendations for October 13th at 9:15 in Friday Harbor. Any questions?
Nope.
Nope.
Without hearing, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Thank you very much. We will get to them to you on Friday or on Monday following, if that's possible. Yes, Ingrid.
Mr. Hughes, may I go ahead and schedule the second touch for the next meeting, and then I
Yes.
can give you the results of the screening committee?
Yes. So the next meeting we'll have our second touch and the information we presented, and there is some questions regarding 3 of the applications. So we'll request either John Kane or someone from the prosecuting attorney's office to be present to go over what their issues might be with the applications, if that's all right.
Yep.
Yep.
All right, thank you. Moving on. The discussion item is to rehire of a vacant administrative specialist 2 position with Kyle Dodd, Deputy Director, Environmental Health Manager. Kyle, are you on the phone?
Yes, I am. Good afternoon, Council. Thank you for having me back. So my request today is to ask for the rehire of our vacant Administrative Specialist 2 position. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen to compare org charts here. So we appreciate the process of taking a critical look at the need and looking for other opportunities prior to coming to you with this request. And we certainly did that in this case. I'd like to just walk through our organizational chart coming into 2020 and where we're at currently. So this is where we're at in the admin section. We had 2 administrative specialists, a financial clerk 4, and then 1 financial clerk 2 at 1 FTE and a 0.8 FTE. So that's coming into 2020. As part of the early retirement requests and offers that were made, Jean Schmidt, one of our financial clerk 2s at 0.8, took early retirement. And at that point in time, we looked critically at those functions, did an evaluation, and we modified some workflows in order to incorporate the job duties of that 0.8 amongst the other 2 financial clerks here. And now we're left with Donna DePamphilis, who vacated the admin specialist 2 slot here that we are asking to refill. As we went down to 2 financial clerks and spread that workload amongst these 2 staff here, now being down another admin specialist, a lot of the work is being asked of the remaining 3 admin specialists, as well as some work being reassigned to technical staff and managers. Without refilling this position, it will result in delay of customer service, questions, referrals, scheduling and delivering of clinical services, a delay of permit processing and routing, as well as continue to occupy the time of technical staff and managers to get that workload done. So I don't want to underscore the process of going through that process and trying to assign workload to other staff, but I can say over the last month since Donna has left, we are at critically low levels with a lot of that admin work being done by technical staff and managers. So that's what I had prepared for you. Certainly open to answering any questions.
Mr. Watson, any questions?
No questions at this time.
Mr. Stevens?
Yeah, Kyle, where's your form? In all these, I found it pretty helpful to have that form filled out.
I did fill out the form last week, and so that was sent through SharePoint. I'm not sure where it went after I did it, so I do apologize if that didn't make it to council.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing it.
No.
So it's not just you, Jamie.
It's the first time today it hasn't been just me.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I'm just clarifying.
Well, can you find the SharePoint file and call it up? Is that something we could find?
You're asking me that question?
I was asking Kyle.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Sorry.
Try here.
I don't know. Maybe.
Why not, Bill? No, that's not inside.
Did you know where it might be?
No idea. I don't know where those documents reside.
Yeah, it goes from us signing it, then it would, I think, goes to James, and then it goes to Mike, and I don't know how that routing works and where it's at. And so I was trying to see if we could find it on the SharePoint site and open it up.
And Kyle, you're looking, correct?
And Mike, have you seen it?
Well, I think my absence might not have been helpful to this process, but
Well, exactly. Yeah, maybe it's sitting in your queue.
yeah. So I was going to ask Mark if you could talk about the reductions in positions just in this year. I think, Mark, you made a number of changes, and I think that's important to this conversation.
Sure. Yeah. So we have already made the decision not to refill two of the positions that did early retirement. So that was both a front office / fiscal staff and our social worker. And so that was on top of voluntarily giving up the another 0.5 DA as part of the 2020 budget process. So if you look at our front office, we're down essentially two positions. We also as part of this had authorization to fill a 0.6 position for ECAP. We made the decision not to fill that, and because of the budget situation, and we are providing support to the ECAP program with another staff member. So we have made those switches as part of this budget process to save the counties. So it's really 4 positions total that this year alone we have chose not to fill, either through voluntarily reducing them based on the 2020 budget situation and 2021 budget situation. So through the voluntary retirement, 2 positions, and then 2 positions where we chose not to fill them based on the current budget, county budget.
And Council, Mr. Wolf just forwarded the document to us.
Yep. Oh, thanks, James.
Yeah, thank you. I wasn't able to obviously locate. You had me still hunting though.
This is the clerk.
Yes, it's the admin assistant position.
Did you find it?
No, James Wolf sent it to us.
Okay, great.
Are you able to, both of you?
Oops, but he didn't copy Mike on it.
I have it.
Okay.
Hey, Kyle.
Yes.
If we, Council, are you able to, maybe we should wait 2 weeks to fill this position? Do you want time to look at this?
I think it's pretty straightforward from my perspective.
Yeah, Mark's description was pretty good.
Yep.
All right, never mind, Kyle.
Thank you.
Is there any additional questions to Kyle or Mark? If
not for me.
Motion for approval.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the rehire of the vacant Administrative Specialist 2 position under Kyle Dodd.
Second.
Need a motion and a second to rehire a vacant Administrator Specialist 2 position as presented by Kyle and Mark. Any questions?
Nope.
Nope.
Outstanding. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Council.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
If it's possible in the future when these rehires come in, can council get CC'd at some point in case there's, in case someone's gone?
This was an exception that it didn't get processed into you.
Yeah.
And some of these haven't been on the agendas in the past because we've had the copies from the department head when they've applied. So, all right, thank you. The next discussion item is an ordinance regarding operating cash as defined by San Juan County General Fund Reserve Policy, amending San Juan County Code 3.48. 2-0 with Mylene Henley, auditor. Mylene, are you there?
I am here, yes.
Oh,
Hello.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
yep.
Okay. I will speak more loudly. Yes, we have talked for years about amending the reserve policy where it specifies the amount of operating cash that we wish to have, we the county. In 2009, for the first time, the county adopted a policy that said how much ending cash we wanted to have in the current expense fund. At that time, it was we were also in the middle of a recession. It was a bold and unusual time to enact a reserve policy, but we did so with great effect. Went fairly conservative at that time with the amount of ending cash required in the general fund, making it only 10% of the expenditures. And we have talked for years recently about increasing that to a different percentage because 10% is really minimal. The Government Finance Officers Association, which is a well-respected group that gives guidance on accounting matters for governments, recommends too much, which is 16 and 6.67% of expenditures as the ending cash balance or fund balance. I would like to move closer to that, but not quite that high, and go for 15%. Recognizing that things happen during the year that may change what you have available. As in the first adopted version, we required 10%, but it could drop down to 8% during the year. I'm proposing that we adopt 15% at adoption, allow it to drop to 12% during the year if necessary. And of course, with a finding of emergency by the council, it can go lower than that. You have a draft ordinance before you, I hope.
Yes.
That's in your packet. So, questions?
Ingrid, could you send me that draft ordinance?
I can.
Oh. All right. So I'll go with some questions. So, Mylene, if we drop below, currently, if we drop below 10%, what happens?
Well, what happens? First of all, when we're talking about adopting the budget, there is a strong desire, even an ordinance here, to adopt with at least 10% of expenditures as your ending cash balance. We have never failed to do that. What it says is that if changes during the year drop you below 8%, it takes a finding by council to do that. We have also never done that.
Right. And so this is really about budget, not actuals, right?
Well, no, it is about actuals, because what we're saying is that we are not going to let the actual ending cash in the account drop below a certain percentage.
So this is about managing cash flow then?
That is correct.
So I go back to my statement. If you have to pay bills, and that would take our ending cash below the regulated percentage, what would we do?
First of all, ending cash is only ending cash at the end of the year. Although it's called fund balance refers to fund balance at the end of the year. When you properly manage your budget and your expenditure, and it's just never happened. It's never come close to happening. Believe me, that in September of 2009, when we got down to $50,000 in the checking account, that was when we decided we really didn't want that to happen again, and it hasn't.
Right. So I guess if I was to answer that, I'd say, well, we hit the budget stabilization fund, right?
that would be a budget change.
I understand, but if we're forecasting an ending cash position below the regulated amount, then the only way to augment that would be to pull out of the budget stabilization fund.
Or you could have less in the ending balance. You just have to have councilmanic action to authorize that.
I understand.
Well, okay, let me go back to your original question, Bill, which is this about budget or actuals?
Exactly.
I guess you could say it is about budget, because if it happened during the year, let's say the world truly fell apart, even worse than it did this year, and sales tax dropped to zero, and people stopped paying their property taxes, and we ended up with, $1 million in ending cash, well below where we should be, there's nothing that would change, except that we'd be hard put to adopt next year's budget.
Right. Right. So
this is about planning. This is about managing your money.
Exactly. I understand. So I'm just trying to. I understand the objective, right? We've always discuss ending cash as we do budgeting, and we always have the debate about how much ending cash is enough ending cash. And that's separate from the whole discussion around budget stabilization fund or our reserve account.
We're not changing that part of the reserve policy.
Right. I understand. So, all right. I mean, I'm comfortable where we're at, I guess, is where I'm at. I mean, if we want to withhold more. If we want to end the year with more ending cash, we can do that at any time we want to.
That's true, but future councils may not be so enlightened as yourself, Bill.
And I'm not trying to protect future councils from themselves.
All right, so council, we've got a hard stop at 2 o'clock. Yep. We have 2 executive sessions and a closed session that have to happen there.
Yep.
So my question to council is, A, are we okay where we're at? Or B, would we like to have a second discussion on this at the next meeting?
Could we have a second discussion? Because I've got a couple of questions, but
okay,
it's not going to make a difference today.
Right. Okay. So, Ingrid, on the next meeting, we will add this. Is that, Mylene, are you available on the 23rd, I think?
No, 23rd.
Are you available 29th. On the 29th?
I am, yes. You're talking about next week or 2 weeks from today?
2 weeks.
I think I'm available those times. And
okay,
Jeremy, if you or others have specific questions that you've got, email me and I'll be able to think about those ahead of time.
Okay.
Great. And so we will add this to the agenda on that date. And thank you for bringing this forward, Mylene. It's definitely an interesting concept. We've tried to figure out what is the right way to end our budget every year. But to Bill's point too, we can also make that decision ourselves. So it's an interesting discussion. So thank you for bringing it forward. All right. So is there anything on council member and county manager updates that we'd like to bring forward?
I don't have any.
I've got a quick one. I attended a webinar or whatever with Alex Remmel and Senator Lovelet concerning a program called CPACER, and it would require the county's not really liable for anything, but it would require us to have an ordinance where we would collect a property tax that would finance retrofits for earthquake and energy conservation, as well as things like solar panels. And I am waiting for more information, but it's kind of like on some other things. Are we interested in at least getting a better picture of what's going on?
Yes, Jamie, I also attended, I think, the second meeting on that. I think there was 2 exact similar presentations.
Yeah.
I'm very interested in the program. I think it could offer some unique opportunities for property owners. So I'd love to bring that group in front of full council if council's okay with that.
I think it'd be fine, but they need to provide more information that we can actually read. I mean, people kept asking questions that, it was really difficult to kind of see the whole flow of the program. And I think John Colseth would need to be involved, and he'd probably want something that he could actually look at.
And I would suggest probably Mylene and Rhonda as well, since there's
Right.
the
Right.
So if I can get some information to forward to council and then try to get them on the agenda in the next couple meetings, is that?
Sure.
Yeah, I don't think there's a giant rush, but it would be interesting to talk about it.
All right. I will work on getting more information for the group and try to find a time that works. I know we have some full agendas coming up, so thank you. Anything additional? Jamie?
No, not for me.
And I just one quick update. I've been working with the Joint Transportation Committee on kind of the future of recommendations to go to the legislature on transportation plans for the next big transportation plan. When we get something more solid, I will bring it back to council. I have a candidate who has had his application in for planning commission for a while. He's expressed that he's reached out. I'd like to make that appointment, but I want to honor the opportunity to have both of you speak with that candidate. So I will ask to make sure to confirm again with him that he has sent information to both of you about getting together. Is that something that could happen in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah.
Sure.
We have two openings on Orcas, and I'd like to have some representation there. So.
Yep.
Is there anything else, Ingrid? Mike?
No.
All right. And Jamie, anything else for Bill? You guys?
Nope.
Nope.
All right. So we will be going into an executive session to discuss to evaluate the qualifications of an applicant for public employment or to review the performance of public employee pursuant to RCW 42.30.1101G. 20 minutes, Mike? 30 minutes?
Probably 20 minutes.
20 minutes. No action will be taken, correct?
No.
We also will have a closed session to discuss matters pertaining to collective bargaining pursuant to RCW 42.30.144B. I would assume the same thing, 20, 30 minutes and no action?
Correct.
And then after that, we will have an executive session to discuss legal counsel litigation or potential litigation pursuant to RCW 42.30.110.1I. And that I would assume would also take about 30 minutes and no action will be taken. We will come out of those three sessions and be adjourned. And Mr. Gaylord, I assume you're here. I'm not sure if it's you or Mr. Kane. We will contact you when we're finished with the closed session about the litigation executive session.
Just a minute on that topic. I was invited to the closed session.
Oh,
no, excuse me, the executive session.
Yeah, we need Randy for the first executive session.
Right.
All right. Well,
Thanks.
then we'll include you, Randy.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, and when we adjourn from when we're finished with these two executive sessions and a closed session, we will be adjourned for the day. Thank you very much.
Just one more thing. The other deputy prosecutors, John Kane and Amy Vera, will also be attending the litigation executive session.
Okay, great. We will contact them when we're ready for them. Is that right, Randy?
Oh, yes. Okay. Sorry. Yeah.
Thank
That's
you.
fine.
Is there anything else before we adjourn or before we go into session to adjourn?
Not for me.
All righty. Thank you very much. Close out. Thank you, Ingrid.